Hello, and welcome to Unity of Fredericksburg. My name is Judy Laganga, and I am pleased to welcome all of you to the Unity of Fredericksburg weekly online gathering. At Unity of Fredericksburg, we are advancing the movement of spiritual awakening and transformation through unity, a positive path for spiritual living. We thank those of you watching on YouTube live or later and invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you are able to attend live, we encourage you to join us in the Zoom community room for the full Sunday morning experience, including music, prayer, and connection. Our weekly newsletter includes the Sunday service link, and you can subscribe to receive that on our website at uofva.org. That's uofva.org. For everyone local to Central Virginia, Unity of Fredericksburg offers a variety of fun and enriching in-person gatherings every month. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter at uofva.org for all the details. Our message today comes from Minister Reverend Cheryl Fair. And now, here's Reverend Cheryl.
Thank you, Judy, and welcome everyone who is with me right now in the Zoom room and all of you who are watching later. I appreciate you showing up, and your energy contributes to this wonderful community that is Unity of Fredericksburg. Our broadcast date today is September the 1st. Oh my goodness. Tomorrow is Labor Day, my friends. Labor Day is a holiday that was founded in the late 1800s as a way of honoring union workers. The first Labor Day occurred in 1882 in New York City under the direction of the Central Labor Union. Labor Day was also created to address unhealthy work hours. So in the 1830s, manufacturing workers were putting in 70-hour work weeks on average. 60 years later, in 1890, the average had dropped to 60 hours a week. So unions organized to advocate for an 8-hour workday and a 6-day work week. And they also focused on getting workers more days off, such as the Labor Day holiday. As a side note, there is currently here in the United States a strike going on by more than 17,000 AT&T workers. So let's just take a moment to just kind of send some blessings to that process and see the workers and the company coming to an agreement on everything that could make that come to resolution soon. So the rest of us enjoy the benefits of a day off for Labor Day. So let's just strive to remember all of the workers that keep things going even when we take a day off. Here's a quote from Albert Einstein along those directions. Every day, I remind myself that my life depends on the labors of other people and that I must exert myself in order to give in the same measure that I have received. So here at Unity of Fredericksburg, we have a focus on well-being for the year of 2024. And our specific focus for the month of September is spiritual well-being. So that was chosen to align with Unity's World Day of Prayer, which happens every year in September. This year it's one of those things that runs from sunset to sunset. So it begins in the evening of September the 11th and goes through September the 12th. And in addition to prayer, we're going to be exploring an assortment of spiritual paths and practices on Sunday mornings. And we're also going to have a workshop on September the 14th for those who are local. So today we begin this journey of spiritual well-being by looking at the experience of stillness or silence through the practice of meditation. So I've got a quick joke for you. You ready for a joke? Did you hear about the meditation master who rejected anesthesia when having a cavity filled? They wanted to transcend dental medication. I hear you giggling. I can hear it. So let's get started by talking about, let's get clear about the difference between prayer and meditation. We want to do that particularly in unity because we tend to kind of mix up and use those words, as meaning the same thing, but they really are two different things. So let's get clear about that. Okay. So in unity, we practice what is called affirmative prayer. So here's a definition, if you will, of affirmative prayer: a spiritual activity of entering into consciousness, conscious remembrance of oneness. Let me say that again since I messed it up. A spiritual activity of entering into conscious remembrance of oneness with an attitude of gratitude and love, claiming truth expressing in all circumstances. So that's the activity of affirmative prayer that we practice in unity. Prayer is active. It is when we pray, we are doing something, right? And we can combine prayer with lots of different activities. So we can do it while we're walking or swimming or gardening or woodworking or even doing chores around the house. We can be practicing that activity of prayer. So we might call all of that kind of spiritual practices or prayer practices. Meditation, on the other hand, is a state of being rather than doing. And there are many different forms of meditation. Our focus today, because we only have so much time, right, is we're going to be looking at Unity's approach to meditation. So in Unity terms, meditation is, going back to our founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. They referred to meditation often as resting in stillness. Resting in stillness, not doing anything, not guiding our thoughts with any intention, not encouraging our imagination, just resting in stillness. Take a breath right now and just give yourself a little mini meditation. Yeah, resting in stillness. Now, meditation can be used as a preparation time for prayer, or you can do your prayer and then do meditation afterwards, or they don't have to go together at all. Often they do, but they don't have to. Now, if you note in our Sunday service here at Unity of Fredericksburg, we have the message first. It's followed by a meditation. And then we do the activity of prayer is done later in our Zoom room, a community prayer process. So we have them in two different places. One great thing about meditation is that no particular belief system is required. It's a practice, but it's a practice that fits with any belief system. It's simply a practice of settling and quieting the mind and the body. So here's a quote from Myrtle Fillmore from her healing letters. She says, "A period of quiet and rest each day is your opportunity to establish yourself at the center of your being, the one place where the supply of life and substance is inexhaustible." Nice, huh? Your opportunity. Here's a quote from Charles Fillmore from The Revealing Word. "The purpose of meditation is to be transformed in spirit, soul, and body by the renewing of the mind." Nice, huh? Here's another quote. I've got lots of good quotes, juicy quotes today. So here's one from Eric Butterworth in The Universe is Calling. "There is nowhere to go in meditation. It is not trying to get into something or out of something or up to something, and it is not trying to do something. Actually, it is not doing. I prefer to use the term the silence instead of meditation, for it puts the emphasis on a state of consciousness instead of a mental exercise. Nice, from Eric Butterworth. So he brings up the silence. So that's what we're going to talk about next. So meditation is the process by which we enter into and experience what the Unity founders called the silence. So let's hear more from our founders about that. Here's a quote from Charles Fillmore in The Revealing Word. The silence is a state of consciousness entered into for the purpose of putting each person in touch with divine mind so that the soul may listen to the still small voice. And that still small voice is in quotes. It's from scripture from 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 12. Here's another quote helping us learn more or rediscover, remind ourselves about the silence. This comes from Heart-Centered Metaphysics, which is the metaphysics text for Unity written by Reverend Dr. Paul Hasselbeck. So here's what he says. The silence is a state of consciousness, a state of unawareness from which realization arises. After investing time in the silence, we see with the inner eye that which is eternal and realize and know that which has always been. Nice, huh? It's a lot of words though. So let me give you one more quote that's a little simpler. This is from May Rowland in The Magic of the Word. The silence is not something mysterious. It is that inner place of stillness where you feel and know your oneness with God. Or I would say when you feel and know oneness, right? Because oneness with doesn't make sense at all, right? It's just oneness. And oneness you can call God or the universe or divine mind, whatever it is you want to do. So the silence is that place of stillness where you realize that oneness. So rest in the stillness. It's a wonderful opportunity to give ourselves, a gift to give ourselves, to quiet the chatter of our brain and all the stuff going on in our lives and dwell in stillness and silence. So, do you feel stressed, my friends? Overwhelmed, unsettled, anxious, you got stuff stirring around? Time resting in the silence or the stillness is a gift you can give yourself. And you don't need to do anything. Just rest in the quiet. Meditation. Now, one thing that you might consider this as we kind of finish up talking about the difference between prayer and meditation is that prayer you can think of as kind of talking to God or to the universe, claiming truth, shining the light on different issues and circumstances and things like that. Meditation is that quiet listening space, right? Because there has to be a flow, right? So if you're doing the one and you're not doing the other, then you've got a lot of talking, but you're not doing a lot of listening, right? Or you could have the other situation going on. Who knows? I don't know what your spiritual practice is, but let's talk a little bit about why did Unity founders stress the importance of the silence? So here's another quote from Myrtle Fillmore in Healing Letters. God gives freely. It is for us to keep the receiving channel open, to keep attuned to the realities so that our intellect does not take us out among the limited ideas of the world. The manifest human must have the sustenance that can come only from within. Now, notice in that quote, Myrtle refers to the realities. She's calling realities, truth in spiritual terms is reality. And that all this stuff that we deal with in our life, she refers to that as the limited ideas of the world. So this quote comes from a section of Healing Letters that's all about the silence. And meditation is the work that we do to keep that receiving channel open. So she's talking about the universe, God mind as being there and expressing and giving and overflowing all the time. But we have to get quiet in order to receive, in order to be listening, right? Here's another quote from Myrtle. You cannot listen to God while your ear is given to your affairs. You can gain nothing by incessantly milling around in negative thought. You can gain all by quietly letting go of those outer appearances and laying hold of God. There's Myrtle. Bless her heart. She is so direct, so pragmatic. I mean, I love it. It was like, you can't listen to God while your ear is all in your outer business. It just won't happen. You have to get quiet. And so this is why our founders really leaned into this. Here's another quote, and this is included in Heart-Centered Metaphysics. There are a number of quotes that Paul Hasselbeck includes that come from an unpublished Unity Training School course from 1933. And that's one thing I really kind of found really interesting as I kind of gathered all the quotes for today's message was, these things from the founders, from this training course I'm about to quote, I mean, this is from 100 years ago. And yet the message, the intent is so on point for us 100 years later. Sometimes the language is a little antiquated, but we can tidy that up. All right, let me get around to this quote again from this unpublished training school course from 1933. The silence enables us to come to an understanding of spiritual things. As we drop away all habits of thought, speech, and action which are now known to us, we shall quickly come into an understanding of newer, lovelier, and greater things. Practice of the silence expands the consciousness to include the things of the spirit. So, a meditation practice is an investment in our own spiritual well-being. It helps us to kind of build up a well of spiritual resources that we can draw upon when our outer life gets challenged. So it's kind of like charging our batteries in a certain way. I'm going to read to you from Heart-Centered Metaphysics, a part where Paul Hasselbeck kind of explains this, and he starts talking in terms of energy. So we're talking about energy as in our awareness, our attention, how we are using our energy, right? The energy of our consciousness. So he says energy can be utilized in two ways. One, investing it in some outer aim to accomplish a result, good or bad. And two, investing it as a reserve pool in the inner realms of consciousness. Both are necessary. However, we must be vigilant to do this inner investing so that an inner reserve is available in times of challenge and even crisis. Involution precedes evolution. That's a quote from Charles Fillmore. Involution precedes evolution. So doing this inner work of sitting in the silence, of dwelling in the stillness, helps us to build up this reserve pool that Paul Hasselbeck is talking about. And, he says, all right, we definitely need to use our energy to manage our outer lives, right? That's necessary. We need to do that. But we also need to have this practice of focusing on building up energy, spiritual energy, that reserve pool. And then when things go wrong, and they will in our outer lives, right? Then we're ready. So Here are a few tips for practicing meditation. And again, we're just kind of skimming the surface. There's an entire course on meditation in Unity, and I just have, less than 30 minutes here. So there are lots of different kinds of meditation. We are focusing again on the Unity practice, the simplicity of just resting in the stillness or sitting in the silence. You want to begin, of course, with relaxation, right? So you want to intentionally kind of relax the body and settle the mind. So this can be stretching. This can be what you do to sort of become comfortable physically. This can be a focus on the breath. Here's a quote from the Revealing Word. Relaxation is a letting go of tenseness in mind and body, loosening the tight mental grip we have on ourselves in order that the healing Christ life may flow freely through our being. Let me repeat that one little bit because I think a lot of us live in this energy. Loosening the tight mental grip we have on ourselves, huh? How many of us are like getting through the day, doing what needs to be done? It's like you also need to give yourself a minute to relax that and rest, right? So, after relaxation, you want to give yourself a point of concentration. So an image to focus on. So it can be you're looking at a beautiful plant or a candle or something like that. Or if you're not, if visual doesn't work for you, you can close your eyes. It can be a mantra that you're repeating. It can be simply focusing on your breath. The point of that concentration is to provide yourself with sort of an anchor to bring yourself back to when your human brain wanders, and your human brain will wander. You'll be sitting in the stillness and then all of a sudden realize you're planning your grocery shopping list. It's okay. Don't sweat it. The point is that when you find your brain is off doing things, then you just catch yourself and bring it back. And then you use that anchor to sort of bring back. And very often it's in that gap of when you realize you're wandering and you come back. It's in that gap that you really realize truth. So it's important for you to, your brain's doing what your brain does. Don't worry about it. Don't bash it. You don't need to call it names like monkey mind and stuff. Just go, okay, brain, we're going to come back and look at this candle again, or we're going to come back and focus on our breath. And it's in that coming back and forth. Now, one thing that Unity teachings repeatedly tell us from our founders, don't worry about how long you're meditating, right? It doesn't have to be a long formal process. Again, here's a quote from this training school course in 1933. In the beginning, many students try to stay too long in the silence, forget about the question of time. Cultivate the habit of turning the attention to God. Do it 1,000 times a day. So even, if kind of like having a dedicated time for meditation stresses you out and you're like, I can't do that, then practice doing it 1,000 times a day, right? So, anytime you find yourself stressed out or whatever, just take a breath. Be in a space of gratitude. Turn your attention to your divine nature and have a little affirmation for yourself. Just take a breath and say, I am the presence of divine mind. I do it quickly. What I use is just that simple, I am that I am. Just take a deep breath, stretch a little bit. I am that I am, and use that as a mini meditation. Again, there's no particular belief system required, my friends. There are many spiritual paths that lean heavily into meditation, but you don't have to be a Buddhist to meditate. And there are plenty of particularly religious paths that do not use meditation at all. And yet you can be Jewish, you can be Christian, you can be Wiccan and use meditation as a tool. It's a tool, a practice, right? So in Unity, we don't stress very much in the way of beliefs. What we do is we stress spiritual principles and practices. So here's a quote again from Heart-Centered Metaphysics, all in alignment with this. So in unity, we do not claim to possess all truth, nor do we actually reveal the inner mysteries. We merely point to the way of discovering them. Do not depend on what you read or hear. Trust, rather, in the silence. Depend only on what is revealed to you in the silence. So our stress in unity is do meditation, whether it's short or long, and do it simply, sitting in the silence, resting in the stillness. You deserve it, don't you? I think you do. And who else is going to give you this gift? Not, this is not something that the world is going to do for you, or your friend or your partner or your pet is going to do for you. You need to give yourself this gift of this refreshing, quiet time, this space that helps you to become aware of spiritual truth, the listening space. So do that for yourself, for your benefit and for the benefit of all of those with whom you interact. Meditation, my friends, is the way to go. So we're going to practice that right now. We're moving into our time of meditation. I'm using some text again from Myrtle Fillmore's Healing Letters to get us going with our meditation and to bring us out of it. So take a deep breath right here, right now, my friends. Settle into your seat. Quiet the mind. And let's listen to Myrtle. Be still, be still, be still. God in the midst of you is substance. God in the midst of you is love. God in the midst of you is wisdom. Let not your thoughts be given to lack, but let wisdom fill them with the substance and faith of God. Let not your heart be a center of resentment and fear and doubt. Be still and know that at this moment it is the altar of all that is, of love so sure and unfailing, love so irresistible and magnetic that it draws your supply to you from the great storehouse of the universe. Trust. Use the wisdom. Prove and express the love of the universe. And with that in mind, let us move into a time of stillness here together right now. Let's begin to bring our attention back to the here and now, back to the seat that you're in and the room around you. And we'll finish hearing from Myrtle. As you come out of the silence, count your blessings and give thanks for them. Realize that only good exists in you and in your world, that the power you contacted in the silence may have opportunity to multiply and increase your blessings. Give thanks that you have already received the good which you looked to the universe for in the silence, feeling the assurance. Before they call, I will answer. While they were speaking, yet I will hear. And that's it for our time of meditation today. Thank you so much for being here with us today at Unity of Fredericksburg. And now I will hand it back to our friend Judy.
Hi there. We had a little screen issue. Thanks for watching the weekly broadcast from Unity of Fredericksburg. Visit our website, uofva.org. That's uofva.org to learn more about our mission of spiritual awakening and transformation and support our ministry with your financial donation.